Hi folks, and welcome to this segment on hand tools. I'm Tim with Goodwill Construction Training, and just want to go over today with you primarily the wire strippers, okay? Not to be confused with the lineman pliers, a lot of different tools out there. If you're wanting to strip wire, this is the tool to use, okay? If we could just focus in right here a little bit on the tool, you're gonna see right here it says AWG solid on this side. And then you see on this side, it says, let's see if we can get in there close, AWG stranded. And most people don't realize what all these different numbers are for. Well, that's for the different gauges of wire. AWG just stands for American Wire Gauge. It's a standard that's set that determines the width or the size of the wiring. All right, the bigger the wire, the smaller the number. It goes opposite of what you think. So let's say I've got a 14 gauge wire. That's a smaller wire than a 12 gauge wire. And you can go on up from there, but we'll get into that in a later video. Right now, I just want to focus primarily on how to use these wire strippers, okay? So we're going to be dealing, you can see here, I've got several different types of wire here. This is a 12 gauge stranded wire. You'll notice on these wire strippers, they've got a little cutter section. Works real easy on this type of wire. Also works real easy on up to a 12 gauge wire, which we have right here. Where this tool does not work, and you would want to swap to, say, the lineman's pliers, and when we get all the way up to a 10 gauge wire, this is a much thicker wire. So you can see here with the lineman's pliers, it clips it fairly simple. If I tried to do that with my wire strippers, I'm going to end up buggering them up where they're not going to work real well, okay? So let's just show you how you'd use this. Let's say I were wiring up a simple receptacle here that goes in a wall. So I've already got a couple of these stripped back, and then I'll strip back the other wire. But you can see on this 12 gauge wire, and this is Romex, you've got a white, a black, and a copper, okay? The black wire is always your hot wire. The white wire is neutral, and the copper wire is your ground. So we're going to take these three wires and insert them into this plug, and you'll notice on this plug, you'll see we've got silver screws, we have gold screws, and we have a green screw, okay? The gold is always the hot wire. So all you got to remember is black is gold, okay? So we're going to take the black wire, we're going to insert it into the back here, just like that. And we're going to tighten this down, if I can get my hand steady. And you want to make sure it's good and tight so it's not going to come out of there. We're going to come over to the other side and insert the white wire. Lock that down. And we'll tighten up that side. Now typically on a wall outlet, we're not going to hook up this ground yet. You're going to have a wire feeding in and a wire feeding out. So let's use our wire strippers and strip this other section so you can see how that works. The first thing we want to do is take this utility knife, which be real careful. The safest utility knife you can use is a self-retracting one like they use at Home Depot or Lowe's, where you have to push it and hold it out to cut. When you let go, the blade automatically comes in. So with a regular utility knife, you gotta be a little more careful. So we're going to take our wire, step back about an inch, inch and a half, and we're going to make a little slit right here on the outside of the Romex, okay, on this coating. We don't want to go back further than that with our cut because invariably we've made a cut in that wire. So we're going to take that into account here in a minute. So I'm going to peel this insulation back, and I'm going to take all this little cardboard pieces and peel them back. Get all this stuff back and out of my way, and then I'm going to cut that off, being careful to cut away from the wires so I don't cut into my wires. Now remember that first cut I made? There's a good possibility that I made a little slit there, but that's okay because we're going to end up stripping that part off. So we're going to take our wire strippers, and you'll remember this is yellow, so this is 12-2 wire. And when it says 12-2, even though there's three wires, they don't count the ground. So we have a hot and we have a neutral. So I'm gonna look on my wire strippers here. I'm looking for AWG solid because this is a solid gauge wire. And I'm gonna come right here where it says 12, and I'm gonna go back about an inch, squeeze it down, pull it off. That's simple. Do the same thing on the black wire. Squeeze it down, pull it off. Okay, so I've got both these set and ready to go into it. I'm gonna repeat what we did just a second ago. Loosen this up. Remember, this is the silver wire. So we're gonna push the white wire into the silver, and we're gonna tighten that down. We're gonna swap over to this side. Probably gonna have to loosen that up. Oh, it's already loose. I'm gonna push the black wire into that side. Well, looks like I need to loosen it a little more. Okay. Tighten that down. Now you notice we have 2 grounds and 1 screw, 1 green screw. So we're gonna take and tie these 2 together, and there's a really easy way to do this, okay? I'm gonna take my drill here, which is, we'll go over this after a little while. There's a battery operated drill. I'm gonna put it in, just tighten it up, tighten up the chuck around it. Spin those. See how it's tied those together? Now I'm gonna take one of them, I'm gonna pull it back, take my wire strippers and cut that off. Now I'm gonna take my needle nose pliers and I'm gonna take and twist that around into a little hook, just like that. I'm gonna come over here to this ground. Looks like it's already loosened up. We're going to tie that onto it. And then we're going to take our needle nose and we're going to pinch this down where it basically bends that tight around that screw. Now we're going to take our screwdriver and tighten up the ground screw. Keep in mind, this would all be in a junction box in the wall. This would be one of those blue plastic or gray, could be possibly a metal box that would be in your wall. And this is all gonna go in there, and these screws are gonna screw into that receptacle box, okay? But that's how you use the wire strippers. Remember, follow your numbers. Is the wire solid or is the wire stranded? I showed you earlier, this was some 12 gauge. You'll notice this is stranded. So I would go to AWG stranded. This is 12 gauge. So I would go to the 12 gauge on this side and pull that off. You see the difference between the solid? We have a bunch of different wires here. Okay, this is AWG stranded. And that sums it up today. I appreciate you listening in, but now you know how to use wire strippers.